of the farming sector at large. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Ian McKelvey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It gives me a bit of pleasure to get up and speak to the third reading of the Crown Pastoral Land Rent for Pastoral Leases Amendment Bill, and I certainly support the bill. I'm not one to, as the previous speaker said, attack the opposition, but I find it difficult to believe that they'll be milking cows on these pastoral leases, Mr. Speaker, which I'm pretty sure I heard the member say. And so I guess that... So I think that will be very difficult, Mr. Speaker. But I want to talk briefly about the bill and the potential for this bill to I guess, rectify some what I would see as wrongs that have occurred over the last few years. And certainly the 10-year review system wasn't working in New Zealand. It had passed its use-by date. I think it had been abused to some extent, and it certainly was causing some grief for the High Country of the South Island, in that there were some, I think, 112 contested rental situations or reviews under review currently. Quite a problem for both the government and the farmers, and there's significant expense involved in that type of a review. So the challenge for the Parliament is to get a system in place that both works for the High Country of the South Island, that avoids the need for us to buy expensive tracts of land off these farmers or rentals off these farmers and take it over as we have done in the past. And I heard one of our speakers last night speaking on this bill talking about the millionaires in that area. The only millionaires I know in the High Country of the South Island are the ones that the previous government bought out, Mr. Speaker. And in fact, I've got a very good friend who's got a brand new D6 as a result of that purchase, and he's pretty happy. He sits on it every day. I think that is the problem that we face with this bill, and I'm sure that will be resolved as a result of the decision to put this or proceed with this bill tonight. I want to talk briefly about the High Country farmers of the South Island, and also last night we heard the Greens talk about the ecological assessments that would be preferable to be carried out to understand the stocking rates required in this country. I'd like to point out to the Greens that just about all farmers who farm with any kind of responsibility in New Zealand probably do ecological assessments on a daily basis. And I guess that involves measuring grass and things like that, which clearly enables them to understand what's happening with their land, what's happening with their livestock. And I think these High Country farmers of the South Island do a wonderful job of the ecological management of that country. And I think almost without exception, historically, they have done a great job of that. I'm sure that will continue in the future. I wanted to briefly comment on a couple of other things that I found a little extraordinary about the discussion we've had recently. And in fact, on page 3 of the initial draft of this bill, where we talk about the Labor Party's minority view, they talk about the bill allowing the government to charge rent on a productive capacity, but exclude rental for the right to exclusive occupation, which lessees also enjoy. It seems to me it's very difficult to see any difference in that system than we see in our current government housing regimes throughout the country, where there are clearly state houses which attract the same rental wherever they're located. Absolutely they are, as you well know, have been for 100 and something years. And so are those people who live wherever they might live in a government-owned house. We don't charge them for the view. So I think that argument really buys itself. So, Mr. Speaker, I've got no problem supporting the movement of this bill through the House, and in fact, with a bit of luck, it'll get out of here fairly soon. I just want to congratulate those who were on the Select Committee at the time this was heard, and I certainly wasn't, for the work they did. Also, the ministers who have put this through, and Jackie Dean, who I've heard speak, I think, 3 times on this bill since I've been a member of this House, certainly with a significant amount of enthusiasm for the bill. So, Mr. Speaker, I have much pleasure in supporting this bill and hope that it proceeds with speed.
Honourable Trevor Mallard, I understand this is a split call.
Yeah, I
a 4-minute warning bell with 1 minute.
I'll take a 4-minute bill. Thank you. If I get